Yo, if you're at the station, best workout you could do. Nickels and dimes, 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, every minute on the minute. We got 30 minutes. The goal is to hit an hour. You cap out at 30, you cap out at 30. Or whenever you make your next call, your next run. We're on hour 48. We got another shift tomorrow to complete the 72, and then we're off. We got a crazy training session when we get off. We're gonna hit the track. I'm gonna take you guys along, and then we'll get into episode 2 of becoming a firefighter. All right, y'all, so the original plan was to take y'all through a track workout, but we got absolutely destroyed at work on the ambulance, and my body was completely dead. So came to the gym. We're gonna try and get a couple movements in, move the body around a little bit, get the heart rate up. Show you guys how I work out when my body's wrecked and still want to get some movement in. And then we're gonna go grocery shopping, show you guys how I get my meals ready for the week. And then we'll get into the episode 2 where we talk about qualifications, requirements, and different routes you can take for either fire department. So let's get it. Into Costco. This haul isn't going to be anything crazy, but I wanted to break down how I plan my meals out for the week since it is a question I get a lot. We've got a pretty busy week coming up with 72 hours on shift, so the goal is to keep the meals as simple as possible. Most of the time I stick to the 4-3-2-1 method, so we do 4 protein sources. We got ground beef, ground turkey, eggs, and then the Levels whey protein. 3 carbs, rice, potatoes, and sourdough, 2 veggies, peppers, and onions, and then 1 guilty pleasure, which is the cereal you saw. At the station, we usually go breakfast and dinner together, so I'll pack 2 meals a day, sometimes 3, depending on what's being made for dinner. Sometimes dinner can get a little crazy. So yeah, keep it pretty simple. I'm gonna make a video dedicated to nutrition and fueling on the job. This time, I kind of just wanted to give y'all a quick breakdown so you have an idea of how it works. I hope that helps. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of the video. What's going on, guys? Episode 2, becoming a firefighter. Today we're going to talk about qualifications, requirements, and then different ways, different routes that you can take when you start applying for your department. Hopefully after watching episode 1, you chose about 3 to 5 departments. If not, that's cool. I think this episode will help clear your mind a little bit. All right, so getting right into it, I pulled up HFD's requirements here, and you'll see there's 2 different options. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But the first option is a non-certified firefighter EMT. Like I said in episode 1, with a lot of the big city departments, they won't really ask much of you, but the list will be pretty extensive. So for non-certified, you got 15 college hours or 2 years full-time active military. You got 18 years or older, and then your driving record, 2 or less moving violations. So there's a lot of people that haven't been to college and they don't have these credits. We're going to talk about ways around that and things that you can do to get there. For the driving record, this is honestly something that can eliminate you pretty quick. So before you start applying, make sure that all this is squared away. For me, I had something on my record that I had to get cleared, and I had to take a flight back home, pay the fees, get it taken off my record, talk to a judge, all that stuff before I can continue with my application. So before you even apply, just look over all of that, make sure all of that is good, and then get started. And then we got the certified firefighter EMT. Again, like in episode 1 where we talked about the smaller departments, the county departments, they're going to want you to apply already having your certification. So your firefighter 1 and 2, your EMT, and then sometimes even your paramedic. So make sure when you're choosing your departments, you got to understand where you're at and what they're asking of you. If you have no certifications, that's something that we're going to talk about as well. I wanted to show you guys real quick what it looked like when you're researching this, and you can do this for any department. And then I brought up a volunteer department, which the requirements, high school diploma, and a Texas driver's license. And then most times they're going to give you an annual physical, which is pretty much expected. But we'll talk more about the whole volunteer thing, but I wanted to show you guys this as well. So you can, for any department, it's pretty simple. Go on the website, look for their requirements, jot them down. If you have those 3 departments already, or those 5, however many you pick, make a list, jot them down, and then put all the requirements and then all the ones that you have, or all the ones that you're willing to get. If there's a department that you really want to get into, then you're going to have to make a bigger plan. All right, so choosing your path, like I said, there's a few different routes that you can take. We're going to go into detail on 3 of them. So I brought up the volunteer option, showed you the requirements for those. Those are pretty simple, but this is a route that a lot of people take. So most volunteer departments, they're both volunteer and then they have a full-time side. A lot of these volunteer departments, if you make a commitment to stay with them a certain amount of time, they will pay for your certifications. So you can use that as a stepping stone. You can get onto the volunteer side, get your certs through them, and either stay with them full-time or start applying to other departments. Before I started working for HFD, I did apply to a volunteer department and I got on with them. I think I worked like 1 shift or something like that. And then I got my call back from HFD. So when I talked to the chief and everything, they were explaining how they do pay for certifications and they weren't a full time. So you just had to allocate a certain amount of time to the department, they pay for your certs, and then you're good to go after that. Another good thing about starting with a volunteer department is, let's say you choose a department and their hiring date is pretty far out. Getting into a volunteer department, you get to get your hands on a couple things. You get to learn from a lot of the guys that are there. Most of the time, the chiefs and the higher ups in a volunteer department, they either came from a full-time department or they still are working in a full-time department. So you're able to learn a lot as a volunteer. The only downsides of becoming a volunteer is obviously you get no pay. Like I said earlier, there might be a commitment if you are getting your certification through them. And if it is just a volunteer department, there's no guaranteed job. So you'll get your certifications, but you'll still have to continue applying even after that. So with this side, a couple actions to take. Search for all the volunteer departments around you, figure out what their requirements are and what they offer. If you want to get on with a volunteer department just to get exposed to the tools and learn a few things while you're there, that's cool. But if you can get something else out of it, like your certifications, it'll be that much better. So that's one route you can take. Route 2 is going to be a college course. So the pros of going this route, you can look into the college programs and figure out when the academy classes are starting. They usually have several throughout the year. So if you're still working, if you need to get your stuff together, you can either pick one that's further out or pick one that starts within the next month or 2 if you really can't wait. Another good thing is once you get all your certifications through the program, you have a bunch of options. Most of the times you can apply wherever you want. Again, if you chose a department where the hiring date is pretty far out, you can do this and get all your certifications while you wait for their hiring to open back up. And then being that you're going to be doing that, you're going to get your certifications while you're waiting. These credits can roll over into a degree. So if you have even more time and you want to further your education, you can roll those over into a fire science degree, a degree in emergency management, homeland security, things like that. And like I mentioned in episode 1, a lot of guys have side jobs along with being a firefighter. So if that's something that you want to pursue, you can kind of get that started before you even apply. Another thing, FAFSA and scholarships are always available for these college programs. You kind of just have to do your research and dig a little deeper. Biggest cons with the college route, obviously you're paying out of pocket. Again, there's no guaranteed job, so you still have to do the work in applying before getting on with an actual fire department. There is a time commitment, obviously with a college program and academies, usually Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday, whatever the hours are. That is a time commitment that you're not getting paid for. And I'll go into more detail on the next route, but that can interfere with your work and your personal life in general. It's going to be a lot of time that you're going to have to allocate to this program, especially if you're already working, if you have a family, et cetera, et cetera. You kind of got to figure out what's best for you and if this option is even going to work. Then we got number 3, which is a department academy. Like I showed you earlier with HFD, if you have those requirements, you apply, you get hired. That's your job. You're guaranteed that job once you finish the academy, right? You're going straight into the station. So you're not just getting your certs and then you're on your own. You're already set. That's one thing. Your benefits and your pensions start once you start the academy, at least in most departments. That's something that you have to research as well. I don't want to say that that's exactly what happens, but most of the time, those benefits start day 1 of the academy, which sets you up for the future. Another thing is, while you're in the department academy, you are getting paid. So it's not something that you have to commit to with no pay, or you kind of have to figure out. Even though pay in the academy is a little less, you're still getting paid for it. Again, you're still getting the benefits for it, and it kind of makes it all worth it. Another thing too, you're learning the way the department operates. A lot of times when you get the certifications on your own, if a department is hiring you with outside certifications, you'll still have to go through a process or an academy that shows you how they do their stuff. Departments always operate differently, and you're going to have to learn exactly how said department operates before you can actually go out into the field. So with Houston, if you get on with your certifications, they put you through a fast track academy class, again, where you're going to learn exactly how Houston operates and how they do their tactics and protocols, all that stuff. That's just something that you got to think about as well. So through the academy, if you're doing it for the first time in general, you're kind of getting all that out of the way and you're going straight to the station right when you graduate. So the cons for that are, again, a lot of these departments have hiring dates that are really far out. You'll have to wait if that's something that you're looking into doing. So for whatever reason, you try out Houston, you try out whatever department, and you realize that it's not for you, want to move all the way across the world, or across the US, or wherever you are, those certifications may not transfer. So that's also something that you have to look into. Another thing is you're committed to that department, and there's usually a contract. So you kind of have to look into that to make sure that you're not going to get in trouble if for whatever reason you're using them to get your certifications. I don't recommend doing it like that. If you're getting on with the department, I recommend at least trying it out for a year or two and figuring out if you actually like the department or not. But if you're using it as a stepping stone to get your certification so you can go to a different department, I'd really look into the contract to make sure you're not going to get in trouble if that is the route that you want to take. All right, so those are the 3 different routes. There's another one that a lot of people ask me about, is joining the military, becoming a firefighter there and getting your certifications through them. That is an option. But just remember, with joining the military, you're set there for about 4 years. I think that's the minimum contract, or I think the Army does 2 years or something like that. But just know you're signing your life away for X amount of years before you can get onto a fire department. I did try and go that route, but I genuinely wanted to be in the military. Unfortunately, I didn't make it through. I had some medical stuff that I was disqualified for. But it is what it is. If you are interested in the military, I think it's a great way to go about it. It sets you up for your future in a lot of other ways, and then you'll be able to get your certifications without having to pay out of pocket and all that stuff. So a couple main questions I want to leave you guys here with. Take a second and list all the requirements that you do have. Figure out if you can wait or if you need to start ASAP. If you can wait, the department route is always the best route to go. Have them pay for it, get paid while you're in the academy, and you already have a set job. If you need to start ASAP, the volunteer or the college route is the way you're going to go. And then what matters most to you? Again, I want to bring this question back because I think it's important to reevaluate every time you get a step closer to getting on the job or a step closer to finally applying to these departments. You got to really figure it out and come to terms with what actually matters to you most and why you're getting into this job in the first place. So hopefully with episode 1 and this episode, you'll have a list of the departments that you want, the requirements that you either have or that you need to get, and you can kind of create a plan or a path to move forward. All right, so some homework for y'all. Find the volunteer departments near you. Find a couple fire academy programs in your area. And then if you meet your department requirements, then start applying. If their hiring process is open, then just go for it. Hopefully that helped you guys a little bit. This one was a little shorter. I didn't want to go into crazy detail because there's so much that we can go into for each route. I kind of wanted to just cover the important things and talk about exactly what you need to know for each. So again, hopefully this helped. If you have any other questions, feel free to comment below or DM me on Instagram and TikTok. And also this PDF is going to be available in the description. The first one, there was a glitch there. YouTube had to verify it before I can make it available. But that's verified. So if you go back to episode 1, you can download that one. And then with this one, you can download this one right away. So again, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully this helped you a lot. And we'll catch you on the next episode.